I never imagined my life could change so drastically in such a short time. My name is Emily, and I'm an interior designer. I've always been passionate about my work, dedicating myself to creating spaces that reflect the personality and dreams of my clients. But nothing could have prepared me for the whirlwind of emotions I would experience when I accepted a project to renovate a luxurious mansion on the outskirts of the city. I clearly remember the day I received the call. It was an autumn afternoon, golden leaves dancing outside my office window when the phone rang. On the other end of the line, a deep and confident male voice introduced himself as Michael Thompson. He explained that he and his wife, Olivia, were looking for a designer to completely renovate their newly acquired mansion. I confess I was excited about the prospect. Projects of this scale didn't come along often, and I knew it could be an incredible opportunity for my career. We scheduled a meeting for the next day, and I spent the entire night reviewing my portfolio, carefully selecting projects that best represented my style and versatility. The next morning, I drove to the provided address, an imposing property surrounded by well-manicured gardens. I took a deep breath before ringing the doorbell, adjusting my blazer and making sure my portfolio was in order. The door opened, and it was at that moment that my life began to change. Olivia Thompson stood before me, a warm smile lighting up her face. Her green eyes sparkled with an intensity that momentarily left me breathless. She extended her hand, greeting me with a soft voice that seemed to caress my ears. "Welcome, you must be Emily. Please, come in." I followed Olivia into the mansion, trying to maintain my professional composure while absorbing every detail of the environment around me. The house was spacious and elegant, but I could see the potential to transform it into something truly spectacular. Michael met us in the living room, greeting me with a firm handshake. He was tall, with striking features and an air of authority that naturally emanated from him. The couple made an impressive sight together, the kind of people you'd expect to see gracing the covers of fashion and lifestyle magazines. We sat down to discuss the project, and I soon found myself immersed in an animated conversation about styles, colors, and layouts. Olivia had refined taste and an evident passion for design, while Michael seemed more concerned with functionality and deadlines. Throughout the meeting, I realized that my eyes kept being drawn to Olivia. There was something about her, a magnetic energy that intrigued and attracted me in a way I had never experienced before. When the meeting ended, I left the mansion with my head spinning, not just from the excitement of the project, but also from the unsettling feeling that Olivia had awakened in me. I tried to push these thoughts away, telling myself it was just professional admiration, nothing more. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself headfirst into the project. I spent hours creating designs, selecting materials, and coordinating with suppliers. Olivia was intensely involved in every step of the process, and our frequent meetings to discuss progress became the highlight of my days. Each time we met, I felt a growing connection between us. Our conversations flowed naturally, going beyond the scope of the project to encompass our lives, dreams, and passions. Olivia told me about her career as an art curator, her eyes shining as she talked about the exhibitions she had organized. I shared with her my aspirations of one day opening my own design studio. Michael, on the other hand, was often absent due to work commitments. When present, he seemed distant, absorbed in phone calls and emails. I couldn't help but notice the shadow of sadness that occasionally passed over Olivia's face when he canceled plans or rushed out for yet another meeting. It was during a particularly frustrating afternoon, when Michael had canceled an important design approval session, that something changed between Olivia and me. We were alone in the living room, surrounded by fabric samples and mood boards. Olivia sighed, running her hand through her hair in a gesture of exasperation. "He always does this," she murmured, more to herself than to me. I hesitated for a moment before gently placing my hand on hers. "Is everything okay?" Our eyes met, and I could see the vulnerability in her green eyes. For an instant, the world seemed to slow down. Without thinking, I leaned forward, and our lips met in a soft, hesitant kiss. The shock of what had just happened made us quickly pull back. Olivia brought her hand to her lips, her eyes wide with surprise. I felt my face burn with shame and confusion. I'm sorry, I stammered, abruptly standing up. That was completely inappropriate. I should go. Olivia said nothing as I hastily gathered my things and left the mansion, my heart pounding furiously in my chest. In the days that followed, I was tormented by guilt and confusion. How could I have done something like this? Not only was it unethical as a professional, but it was also morally wrong. Olivia was married, and I was betraying Michael's trust, who had hired me. I tried to focus on work, sending emails with project updates and avoiding personal visits to the mansion whenever possible. But I couldn't get Olivia out of my mind. The soft touch of her lips, the look in her eyes before the kiss, it all haunted me. A week after the incident, I received a message from Olivia asking to meet at a discreet cafe in the city center. I knew I should refuse, but something inside me couldn't ignore the request. The cafe was almost empty when I arrived. Olivia was already there, sitting at a table in the corner, an untouched cup of tea in front of her. When she saw me, her face lit up in a way that made my heart leap. "Emily," she said softly as I sat down. We need to talk about what happened." I nodded, unable to find the right words. Olivia took a deep breath before continuing. "I know it was wrong. We're two adult women, and we know we shouldn't have done that. But..." She paused, her eyes meeting mine. "But I can't stop thinking about it. About you." I felt my breath catch. "Olivia, Please, let me finish," she interrupted gently. "My marriage to Michael, it's not what it seems. We've been together for years, but we've become more business partners than a couple. There's no more passion, no real connection anymore." She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. "With you, Emily, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. A spark, a connection that I can't ignore." My heart was racing as I absorbed her words. Part of me wanted to pull back, maintain professionalism and ethics. But a larger part, a part that grew with each second I spent looking into Olivia's eyes, wanted to give in to these feelings. "I feel it too," I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But Olivia, it's complicated. You're married, I'm your designer." She squeezed my hand. "I know. Believe me, I know how complicated it is. But I can't ignore what I'm feeling. I can't pretend it doesn't exist." We left that cafe without a clear resolution, but with a tacit understanding that something had irrevocably changed between us. In the weeks that followed, we continued working on the mansion project, but every interaction was charged with tension and repressed desire. We tried to keep our distance, to be professional, but it was like fighting against a force of nature. Small accidental touches sent shivers down my skin. Prolonged glances across the room made my heart race. It was a dangerous dance, and we both knew it was only a matter of time before we gave in. The inevitable happened on a rainy night, about a month after our meeting at the cafe. I was at the mansion, finalizing some details of the master bedroom design. Michael was away on business, as usual. Olivia and I were alone, the tension between us palpable. We were discussing the furniture arrangement when our hands touched over a fabric sample. The contact sent an electric current through my body. Our eyes met, and at that moment, all the barriers we had erected crumbled. I don't know who moved first, but suddenly we were kissing passionately. My fingers tangled in her silky hair while her hands explored my back. It was as if all the repressed passion of the past weeks exploded at once. When we finally separated, breathless and with swollen lips, the reality of what we had done began to settle in. But instead of guilt, I felt a strange sense of relief, as if I had finally found something I didn't even know I was looking for. Olivia pressed her forehead against mine, her eyes closed. "We can't go back now," she whispered. "I know," I replied, my voice trembling. "I don't want to go back." From that moment on, we embarked on a passionate and clandestine affair. We found stolen moments whenever possible, furtive kisses during design sessions, lingering touches when no one was looking, secret meetings in discreet hotels in the city. Every moment with Olivia was electrifying. She awakened feelings in me that I never knew I was capable of having. Our bodies seemed made for each other, our minds in perfect sync. We spent hours talking about everything and nothing, laughing, dreaming, imagining a future together. But the reality of our situation always loomed over us. The guilt of betraying Michael ate at me, especially when he was present during our project meetings. Seeing the way he looked at Olivia, oblivious to what was happening right under his nose, made me feel like a terrible person. Olivia also struggled with her own demons. Although her marriage to Michael was far from perfect, she still felt guilty about breaking her vows. There were times when we saw her crying silently, torn between the love she felt for me and the duty she had to her husband. Months passed, and the mansion project was almost complete. Each room reflected the vision that Olivia and I had created together, a perfect fusion of our styles and personalities. It was as if we had left our mark on every corner of the house, a silent testimony to our connection. But as the end of the project approached, the reality of our situation became increasingly difficult to ignore. What would happen when I no longer had a professional reason to be around? How could we continue our relationship without raising suspicions? It was during this time that Michael began to change. He started to be more present, more attentive. I noticed the way his eyes followed Olivia across the room, the way he frowned when she and I talked animatedly about some aspect of the design. A sense of dread began to grow in my stomach. Did he suspect something? On a particularly tense evening, Olivia called me, her voice trembling on the other end of the line. "Emily, I think Michael knows," she whispered. "He found some messages on my phone. They weren't explicit, but he's asking questions. A lot of questions." My heart sank. It was the moment we had feared from the beginning, the moment when our bubble of happiness was about to burst. "What are we going to do?" I asked, my voice barely coming out. There was a long pause before Olivia answered. "I think it's time to face the truth, Emily. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep lying to Michael, to myself. I'm going to ask for a divorce." Her words hit me like a punch to the stomach. Part of me felt relieved, we could finally be together openly. But another part was terrified of the consequences that would come. The days that followed were a blur of intense emotions. Olivia had the difficult conversation with Michael, revealing our affair and her desire to end the marriage. As expected, he was devastated and furious. The mansion we had worked so hard to transform into a home became an emotional battlefield. Michael called me, his voice a mixture of anger and pain. "How could you do this?" he shouted over the phone. "I trusted you, I let you into our home, into our lives." His words cut me deep, the guilt I had tried to repress now pouring out like a torrent. "Michael, I'm so sorry," I stammered, tears streaming down my face. "I never meant to hurt anyone. It happened, it just happened." But I knew my apologies were inadequate. Nothing I could say would ease the pain we had caused. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and chaos. Olivia moved to a temporary apartment while the divorce proceedings were initiated. I completely withdrew from the mansion project, passing it on to a colleague to finish. My professional reputation took a significant hit when news of the scandal spread in our clients' social circles. Olivia and I agreed to give ourselves time to process everything that had happened. It was painful to be away from her, but we knew we needed this period of reflection. We needed to be sure that what we felt for each other was real and strong enough to overcome the hurricane we had unleashed in our lives. During this time, I plunged into deep introspection. I questioned my actions, my values, the person I had become. How could I have so flagrantly betrayed a client's trust? How could I have allowed myself to be consumed by passion to the point of ignoring the consequences of my actions? I spent sleepless nights, turning over every moment, every decision that led me to that point. I talked at length with close friends, even sought professional counseling to try to understand my own feelings and actions. Meanwhile, Olivia was fighting her own battles. The divorce process was bitter and draining. Michael, hurt and resentful, was determined to make things as difficult as possible. Mutual friends took sides, relatives expressed their disapproval. Olivia told me, in our rare phone conversations, how she felt alone and judged. But amid all this turbulence, one thing remained constant: the feelings we had for each other. Despite the distance, despite the guilt and doubts, the love we felt continued to grow and strengthen. 3 months after the start of our separation, Olivia called me. Her voice sounded different, stronger, more determined. "Emily," she said, "I think it's time we talked. Face to face." We met in a neutral park, away from curious glances and whispers of disapproval. When I saw her walking towards me, my heart raced like on the first day we met. She looked thinner, with visible dark circles under her eyes, but there was a determination in her gaze that left me breathless. We sat on a bench, the silence heavy between us for a few moments before Olivia finally spoke. "These months away from you have been the hardest of my life," she began, her voice trembling. "But they were also necessary. I needed to be sure, Emily. Sure that what I feel for you isn't just an escape from an unhappy marriage. Sure that I'm willing to face everything that lies ahead to be with you." My heart was pounding furiously as she continued. "And the truth is, Emily, that each day away from you only made me more certain. I love you. And if you still want me, after everything we've been through, I want to try. For real this time. No secrets, no lies." Tears were streaming down my face as I absorbed her words. All the fear, all the guilt I had carried for the past few months seemed to dissipate at that moment. "Olivia," I whispered, taking her hands in mine. "I love you too. More than I ever thought it was possible to love someone. And yes, I want to try. I want to build something real, something honest with you." At that moment, we sealed our commitment with a kiss. A kiss different from all the others we had shared before. It wasn't a furtive kiss, full of guilt and secrets. It was a kiss of promise, of hope, of a new beginning. The months that followed were not easy. We had to face the judgment of friends and family, rebuild our professional and personal lives from scratch. Olivia finalized her divorce, a painful process that left emotional scars on everyone involved. We decided to move to a different city, a place where we could have a fresh start. We rented a small apartment and began to build our life together, step by step. I opened my own design studio, starting from scratch with clients who didn't know my past. Olivia found a job at a local art gallery, where she could continue her passion for curation. Our relationship grew and deepened with every challenge we faced together. We learned to trust each other completely, to communicate our fears and insecurities, to celebrate our victories and console each other in our defeats. A year after our reunion in the park, I decided it was time to take the next step. I carefully planned a surprise for Olivia, taking her back to that same park where we had decided to start over. As we walked hand in hand along the familiar paths, my heart was beating so hard I was sure Olivia could hear it. Finally, we stopped at the bench where we had our decisive conversation a year earlier. "Olivia," I began, my voice trembling slightly as I knelt before her. "This past year has been the most challenging and rewarding of my life. You've taught me the true meaning of love, forgiveness, and courage. I want to spend the rest of my life learning and growing with you." I took a small box from my pocket and opened it, revealing a delicate ring. "Olivia Thompson, would you do me the honor of marrying me?" Olivia's eyes filled with tears as she pulled me into a tight embrace. "Yes," she whispered between sobs of joy. "1,000 times yes, Emily." Our wedding was an intimate ceremony, with only our closest friends and family members who had come to accept our relationship. We exchanged vows that reflected our unique journey, promising love, fidelity, and honesty to each other. "Olivia," I said, my voice choked with emotion, "I promise to love you every day of my life. I promise to always be honest, even when it's difficult. I promise to support your dreams and stand by your side through every challenge." Our story may have begun in a complicated way, but I am committed to writing a bright future by your side. Olivia responded with equally emotional words, "Emily, you've shown me the true meaning of love. A love that's strong enough to overcome obstacles, honest enough to face the truth, and brave enough to start over. I promise to be your partner, your friend, and your love for all the days to come." In the years that followed, Olivia and I flourished together. Our interior design company, which we founded by combining my design expertise with Olivia's artistic eye, became a success. We worked side by side every day, our professional partnership as strong as our personal union. 3 years after our wedding, we made the decision to expand our family. After much research and planning, we opted for artificial insemination. Olivia carried our daughter, and 9 months later, we welcomed little Sophie into our lives. Becoming mothers brought a new dimension to our relationship. We saw strengths in each other that we didn't even know we possessed. Sleepless nights, dirty diapers, first smiles, every moment was a treasure that we shared. As Sophie grew, we decided to be honest with her about our story. When she was old enough to understand, we sat down with her and told her about how we met, about the mistakes we made, and the lessons we learned. "You see, sweetheart," I explained to her one night as we sat on her bed, "sometimes people make mistakes. Your mom and I did things that hurt other people, and that wasn't right. But we also learned from those mistakes. We learned about the importance of honesty, forgiveness, and true love." Olivia added, stroking Sophie's hair, "The most important thing is that, no matter what happens in life, we should always try to do the right thing. And when we make mistakes, we should take responsibility for them and work hard to make things right." Sophie looked at us with her big brown eyes, absorbing our words. "So, you did something wrong, but then you did the right thing." We exchanged a glance before answering together, "Yes, sweetie. And we're very happy we did, because it brought us you." As I watch Olivia and Sophie playing in the garden through the window of our home office, I can't help but reflect on the incredible journey that brought us here. The path wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't conventional. There were moments of pain, doubt, and regret. But there were also moments of pure joy, unconditional love, and personal growth that I never would have experienced otherwise. I learned that true love isn't just about the happy moments, it's about facing storms together, about forgiving and being forgiven, about growing and evolving side by side. Our story is complicated, full of nuances and contradictions. We're not perfect, and our past will always be a part of who we are. But it's precisely this imperfection, this raw honesty about who we are and where we came from, that makes our love so strong and true. Looking back to that first day when I met Olivia at the mansion, I could never have imagined where that moment would lead us. Through highs and lows, through revealed secrets and broken hearts, through new beginnings and kept promises, we arrived here, to a place of love, acceptance, and family. And if you asked me if I would change anything, if I would go back and do things differently, my answer would be no. Because every step of this journey, every mistake and every right decision, brought us here. It made us who we are today. And looking at my wife and our daughter, I know I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. Our story is a testament to the transformative power of true love. A love that overcomes obstacles, that forgives flaws, that grows through difficulties. A love that challenges us to be better, more honest, more compassionate. And as the sun sets on the horizon, casting a golden glow over Olivia and Sophie in the garden, I feel a wave of gratitude wash over me. Gratitude for this life we've built together, for this family we've created, for this love that, against all odds, not only survived but flourished. I know the future still holds many challenges. I know there will be difficult days ahead. But I also know that, with Olivia by my side and Sophie in our arms, we can face anything life throws our way. Our love story may have begun with a secret, but it will continue as an open and honest testament to the power of true love. And it's this story that we'll continue to write, day after day, year after year, for as long as we have together. As I close the laptop and prepare to join my family in the garden, I can't help but smile. The journey has been long and often difficult, but every step has been worth it. Olivia catches my eye through the window and waves, her smile as radiant as the day we met. Sophie runs circles around her, giggling with unbridled joy. This is our life now. It's not perfect, but it's ours. We've built it together, brick by brick, challenge by challenge, love by love. And as I step out into the warm sunshine, ready to embrace my wife and daughter, I know that this moment, this love, this family, is everything I've ever wanted and more than I ever dared to dream. Our story isn't over. In many ways, it feels like it's just beginning. There will be more challenges to face, more obstacles to overcome. But we'll face them together, just as we always have. With honesty, with courage, and with an unwavering love that has been tested by fire and emerged stronger for it. As I wrap my arms around Olivia and Sophie, feeling their warmth and love surround me, I know that this is where I belong. This is home. And no matter what the future holds, we'll face it together, as a family, as partners, as soulmates. Our love story may have had an unconventional start, but it's the journey that matters. And what a beautiful journey it has been, and continues to be. Every day, we write a new chapter in our story of love, redemption, and second chances. And I can't wait to see where our story takes us next.